Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from Passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello and welcome to All for United with me, John Foster, MUFC. Got 4 friends with me tonight. We are missing one, but we might get somebody else halfway through the show. Just to say hello to everybody first, and then we'll throw out a few topics. Reece, it's been a week already since I've been speaking to you. It's flying by. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, John. A week. It's gone quick, hasn't it, since we were looking at Stu's footballs last week. So
is that a euphemism?
It was last week, yeah. I'm sad to say it was a euphemism, yeah. But no, he did present some good footballs. That did Stu. So no, I can't believe it's been a week. Yeah, it's gone quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Andrew, you was at the game last night. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, mate. John, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm very well, John. Thanks for having me. Third show of the night for you. You must think you make riches, mustn't you? Yeah, thanks for having me back on.
Always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure. And Neil, good to see you back on, mate. You okay?
Yeah, not bad at all. Nice to be on the show.
Excellent. Well, you can see all the topics along the bottom, so we'll go through them one at a time. We'll start off with a topic on the thumbnail. Bruno, this is just something that I've come up with. I'm sure it's going to create a bit of spark maybe in the comments or on the panel. It's a bit of a sensitive subject, really, because I think the first 12 to 18 months, you couldn't do hardly anything wrong, and if you did, you would back it up with a goal or an assist afterwards. Whereas this season, it's kind of gone a bit of a downhill turn. So we want to get into that a little bit. So I'll throw the first kind of topic out there with Bruno. So I'll come to yourself first, Reece. First of all, just along the lines of what's different this year compared to last.
So generally, it's a good question. I don't know. Not much has changed. Thanks a lot. Yeah, the lighting. John's already commented on the lighting. Yeah, I've got a new light. So yeah, I'm going to get the Mickey taken out of me. Neil's already ripped me for the microphone, so I want to get ripped out for the light as well.
No, you look like you're sat in a knocking shop, though. To be honest, mate. I mean, what time do they? You're at a strip club or something?
I don't frequent those places, Neil. No, I don't.
Yeah, you don't know what you're missing.
So generally for Man United, I mean, what has changed this season other than, start coming into the season, we were obviously expecting quite a bit. Added Ronaldo to that. Everyone thought that kind of would have worked for Bruno. It didn't work for Bruno. Could that have been to blame a little bit? Maybe. I don't know, John. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? I think generally that nothing much did change from last season. I think Bruno towards the back end of last season maybe dropped off to where he was when he first came in the season before, but he was producing some serious numbers the season before, so he was always going to drop down a little bit. But I don't know. It could be personnel. Obviously, results haven't gone our way for whatever reason. And yeah, I think it's just not helped. I think he tries a little bit too hard when games are going against us, and it forces it in a way which means it just makes the situation a little bit worse sometimes. It comes across like he's pushing, he's forcing passes, and he's missing tackles, and he's doing all the things that just look a little bit to the naked eye like he's playing pretty poorly. But I think we strengthen next season, we get the players in the right positions, and we as a team start gelling a bit. I think Bruno will naturally just elevate his game again, and he'll start producing. And I don't think he's been as poor as people have made out. I think the team's been poor, and it's affected him individually as well a little bit. But I think from what's changed last season to this season, I don't think that's been a result of necessarily Bruno, to be honest. But the guys might disagree with that. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and the Reece mentioned Ronaldo's name there. Could one player make such a negative effect on another player when there's two good players there? You think if there was that good, you think that there should be some sort of mutual chemistry there, even if they didn't particularly get on. They should still kind of be able to work together and bounce off each other. But am I wrong in saying that?
You're not wrong. It seems to work when they play together for Portugal. It just hasn't translated to club form. I'm just thinking the whole United team hasn't played well this season, but Bruno just looks like he's exhausted at this point, and he looks like he's playing like he's exhausted. I mean, mentally and physically, he needs a rest. I mean, all his exploits before him are starting to catch up with him. I don't think I could be wrong, I don't think he's reached double figures for goals this season. He struck about 28 last season, so, and you see the signs have been there all season. It just looks like he's burnt out, and it's not necessarily he's become a bad player overnight, but he's not performing at the same high level as he was previously. And you could argue what the reasons are for that. It's the relentless schedule he's been playing. I mean, I think he's played from one stat I saw a few weeks ago, he's played over 130 games in like 2 years, which is, I think, too much. And that's for both club and country. And I think maybe that's down to the managers, so that's including Ollie and Ralf. You know, there's got to be a time where you got to give him a rest, otherwise he's just going to get, let's say, he looks exhausted, and that's why the sharpness is not there anymore. So, and you can see it in games sometimes. You can see his frustration, and he's, you know, moaning, throwing his hands up in the air when things are not going right for him, or you know, we're losing. So I just think we just need to rest him now. I wouldn't even play him in that final game at Palace. I just think you know, give him that rest over the summer so he can recharge his batteries, and then, you know, he can come back firing on all cylinders for next season.
Neil, I can see you nodding. Is it just fatigue? Because if it is, then that's an easy fix, you know, what you'd think.
Well, I think I might sound like a broken record here, and I think John might have heard me say this many times, but ever since he came to the club and under Ole worked him like a mule, flogged him to death that first season, and then we suddenly went into you know, there was the Euros, and he was clearly knackered. He clearly was absolutely exhausted when he went into the Euros. He couldn't get in the Portuguese side, and I think that was down to just basic down to the fact I think he was absolutely knackered. I think my good friend Andy Talbot had basically said on the comments, had pretty much said the same thing. So obviously great minds think alike, Andy. But I just think that, and then I think from a United point of view, he just not had the rest, because Andrew's right, the amount of games he's played plus the training he has to do in between. I quite like the fact he throws his hands up and gets frustrated on the pitch, because I think he shows he cares. I think, to me, he'd be the de facto captain going into next season. I would be quite surprised if Ten Hag stays with the same captain, because I think if he did, half the fan base would burst into flames. But I think the ready-made replacement then is Bruno. Sorry, I'm distracted by the glitter ball that's clearly going off in Reese's room. So God knows where he's doing this pod from, because he looks like there's a glitter ball going off. But anyway, never mind. Wish I was there, Reese. But
I don't.
I just think I think the signing. Yeah, I think the signing of Ronaldo hasn't helped Bruno at all, because it's changed the way we play. You know, I mean, this is going to sound controversial, but for the sake of Bruno, maybe Ronaldo has to go, and because how long's Ronaldo got left? 1 year, 2 years at the most, whereas Ten Hag's he must have at least 5 or 6 years to get this club back to anywhere where it can be. And Bruno's going to be a focal point of this club for the next 3 or 4 years at least, given the size and the length of the contract he signed. I just think the guy needs a proper, genuine rest. I'd agree. I wouldn't play him in any remaining games. I'd say, right, you're earning $250,000 a week. You can afford a decent holiday. So off to Bridlington for a couple of weeks in a static caravan for you, my friend, and he'll come back firing. But I think that's the main issue. He's been flogged to death from the moment he signed on, because we signed him and he was like the second coming, and then he started like a house on fire, and suddenly we're expecting that every week, and you just can't do that all the time. You can't do that with a footballer. They're not, as much as we like to think they are, they're just not machines, are they?
100%. And John, Neil just mentioned the captaincy there. Do you think that would be something that would really say ignite. I think that's probably the wrong word, but something to get the ball going again, where we can kind of see him as like the leader again, I guess.
Yeah, I think he's certainly a contender to be the captain next season. Obviously, whether Ronaldo stays or not could have an impact on that, but I think he's certainly next in line. He's obviously given the captain armband when White's not playing. But I think overall, I think with Bruno, I agree with a lot of the points made. I think he's just about managed to get the little figures this season. I think he got his 10th goal against Brentford, but basically, I don't think Ronaldo coming in has particularly helped in the fact that he was United's main player from the moment he came in up until the start of this season. I mean, we forget that, he scored a hat-trick against Leeds in the first game, didn't he? So we got off to a great start. I don't think he's actually had that bad a season. I just think that compared to the levels he was playing at and the goals and assists before this season, he was bound to hit a drop off at some point. Obviously, not to say it's easy to score a penalty, but a lot of his goals were penalties in previous seasons. But obviously, when Ronaldo have shared the duties, and indeed he's missed a couple this season. But I think with Bruno, what he needs to improve is his general decision making at times, because at times it just feels rushed when he's trying to play the ball, which isn't always on. I remember in particular, he missed the game against Tottenham in March, when Ronaldo scored his hat-trick, and the third goal was from a corner, but the other two goals were built by slow build-up, and Ronaldo 5-1 in the top corner, but it was noticeable that we're more patient on the ball. We waited until the right moment to play, the killer pass, as it were. And I think that's something that, and I think Ten Hag will improve him, and I think he probably will, where you just got to be a little bit more patient on the ball and identify when is the right time to play that killer ball, because I think he perhaps looks to do it too often. But I think also he's not helped by, he's perhaps at times the only player who wants to play the killer ball, because we have other players who don't always look to play that ball and take the safe option. And so I think it's about getting more balance in the midfield, where, if he's not doing it, someone else will, that kind of thing. So you've got to have multiple threats and not just have him as the main creator. But I do think he will improve next season. I do think his moaning, obviously, he's going to play can complain if it's justified, like if it's a bad refereeing decision, that kind of thing. But I just think at times he does it too often. That can affect his game. So again, it's about that discipline and that kind of thing. But that's what I think he needs to do ahead of next season. But hopefully he'll have the summer off, he'll come back stronger, and then hopefully he'll be back to his best next season.
Do you think, you speak about next season, do you think Ten Hag will change the formation slightly that would suit him? Because we've seen Bruno play in a few different formations and a few different roles this season. I think obviously last season it worked better for him, but do you think just a simple maybe formation change would help him as well, John?
Potentially. I just think that we've been saying for a long time that the midfield is the big problem, because we don't really, aside from Matic, whose legs are gone, he's probably the only one who really takes the ball off the back four. And like I say so often, it's the players, like whether it's Fred or Tomini, a lot of the time they take the safe option, and they don't always look to pass it forwards, and that can mean players like Ronaldo can be devoid of service. And when Bruno gets the ball, he perhaps feels under pressure to try and do something with it. So I just think, it's potentially a change of formation, but I think it's overall trying to get player in there who is comfortable on the ball, who's happy to play it forward at the right time, and basically when you get the right players in place in that position, then you will see an improvement in Bruno's game. So I think it's more about balancing the midfield rather than, what the formation will do.
You mentioned there balancing the midfield, so this is kind of just what I wanted to ask before we move on away from Bruno and start another topic. Just what kind of players do you think, or what type of players, even if you don't want to name a specific player, what type of players do you think kind of complements Bruno? Shall we start off with Reece and then just kind of move our way around?
I think he's worked well in patches with lots of different players, hasn't he? I think the initial season he had, it might be controversial, but I thought he worked quite well with Martial before he got in the 1920 season. He worked really well with him, didn't he? I mean, most notably scoring that free kick against Man City. I thought that was was kind of the crowning moment for him, really. So, for me, he's worked quite well with Rashford in the past as well. I think that initial season when he came in and he just hit the ground running, it was unbelievable. And I agree with Neil. I think we've absolutely flogged him, really. Where we've just expected him to. That season where we were struggling, kind of similar sort of season to this season, at a crunch point mid-season where it looked like we had to turn it around to get top four. Obviously, this season we didn't react to that, but that season when Bruno came in, he turned the season around for us and he got us to that top four place. It was unbelievable. There's not been many players that have come in that short space of time and had that reaction in a short spell at United, especially from January. It was ridiculous, really, and I think to expect him to continue that form is a bit unrealistic. I think he's a player that can work well with anybody. I think, as John said, he does have a tendency to kind of care a little bit too much, and it gets to the point in which I think he's then forcing the play, and that's kind of when you get the worst of Bruno, really, when he's probably hearts on the sleeve a little bit too much. But he's got the ability. I mean, he's got the ability to play with anybody at the top level. Surely that these players can play with anybody. I know he's got a particular style. He's quite methodical in his plays, and he's not maybe as integral as maybe like a Bernardo. If you're looking at the Portugal team, whether they're interchangeable or smaller players, more technically minded, similar to like how Mata plays. He's a little bit more methodical, but I mean. Yeah, I think he's capable of playing with most of the players. I think just in the past, he's seemingly played quite well with both Martial and Rashford in the past. But obviously, the Martial thing is potentially next season going to move on, isn't it? When he comes back from loan, and Rashford's obviously got a bit of a moment to kind of get his head around what he's doing with himself and improve his game. But that again could mean. He could have had a slump due to the fact that Bruno's had a bit of a slump this season as well. So could there be a bit of a correlation there between the two of them? I don't know. But I rate him. I rate him, John. I think essentially is what I mean. And I think he's got the ability next season to kick on once Erik ten Hag comes in. He's got a big part to play next season for Man United, hasn't he?
Yeah. Neil, your thoughts on that? Who would you like to kind of see play around Bruno? I'm
not so worried about. I'd like to see Bruno slightly further up the pitch. So I know I appreciate what Reece has said about Martial, and I think the Rashford things are because clearly Martial's out the door. I can't believe Martial's going to be hanging around. But I think that Rashford, when Rashford's on form and when Bruno's on form, and with the closer we can get Bruno to the front three, I think would be good. So I'd be more interested in see what sort of midfield Ten Hag's going to put around him. Now, I've gone on record and I've said it for probably the best part of 2 years. I think I said it when he played in the Championship. Someone like a Calvin Phillips, who's a proper holding midfield player and just wants to do the dirty stuff, could be a perfect foil from the point of view of pushing Bruno that maybe 15, 20 yards further up the pitch, because Phillips is never going to come across the halfway line. So Bruno's got the confidence to sort of play in the other 2/3 of the pitch rather than worrying about, who's looking after the back door sort of thing, because Phillips would do that. I'd love, I've also said, and I think a lot of us would love to see someone like Neves, but we haven't. Let's be honest, none of us have a clue, because we don't know what Ten Hag's plans are. We don't know what the transfer budget is. As 1 minute it's 100 million, next minute it's 500 million, next minute it's how much he can bring in plus 100 million. So let's be honest, we ain't got a clue. But so there's a lot of conjecture going on at the moment. But personally, I think it's the midfield around Bruno to allow Bruno. So he needs a core group of players around him that will allow him to play further forward, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. That's the kind of thing I was looking at as well. You play at least one defensive-minded player, of course, but then do you put Bruno in the old-fashioned 8 and put someone else ahead of him? But I do like to see him further forward. But just if he's not getting much of the ball up the top, obviously then is he going to start dropping deeper? But then who's our best number 10 if you're not choosing Bruno? So you don't want to put what's that saying, round pegs and square holes, so to speak, do you? So for me, I'd like to see
round holes, yeah.
That's the one, mate. Yeah. It's a light night. I've not even been drinking either.
You can put round pegs in square holes exactly as easy as putting square pegs in round holes, to be honest.
So it's right, later.
I think they're both as difficult. I've never done physics that much, but I think they're pretty much as difficult as each other.
We'll give it a go later. We'll put a few pictures on Twitter with our cardboard cutouts.
You need a pillar, don't you, later, John?
Yeah.
Long day.
Andy, your topic, mate, it's a good one. So, yeah, do you want to introduce it, mate?
Yeah, it's just regards, is Ralf Rangnick right to, everything, all United's failings in the public domain? This all stems from Rio Ferdinand saying this week, I think, on his own channel, saying, I don't agree with the way he's airing, United's dirty laundry. And if he said, I'll be honest, if I was at the club, I wouldn't allow him to do another press conference again. So I know Rio was speaking in the wake of, 4-0 defeat against Brighton. But I just think I feel like Rangnick is a bit right to call out Manchester United's failings. I mean, this isn't just one bad season, even though it feels like the worst ever. It just feels like this is the culmination of, all the past 8 seasons since Fergie left, and I mean, you could say the rot's really set in, and we now need to get rid of all that. And I mean, we've all us fans have accepted that while there's problems on the pitch, there's problems to be resolved behind the scenes as well, which Rangnick is essentially calling out. And Rangnick is standing in his corner, and like I say, you could say, and obviously there's argument with Rangnick saying there's a number of signings required, and which doesn't necessarily boost the morale of the players that are already existing there. But let's say, almost like United need open heart surgery, and say Rangnick wasn't just to bring in, just manage. He was brought in for his expertise running and rebuilding clubs like he's done before. And I say with Rangnick, it's not like he's saying anything. Probably he's not saying behind the scenes to those above in the boardroom. So I don't think he made those comments about in January where there's a chance we need to sign a new striker, and we have the likes of Luis Diaz who went to Liverpool and a few other players, and he was literally told no. So I think by him shining a light on the failings, there's no escaping them or brushing them off. I mean, obviously when Ollie was in charge, he sort of, I'm going to say, towed the party line. He would refuse to criticise the Glazers or anything. And whereas Mourinho was the total opposite, he did so in such a way that he didn't have an effect on those board members. But I just think, is he right to, every little bit of United's failing in public, or is Rio sort of a bit right? When Man United should be all airing our dirty laundry for all and sundry to see.
Yeah, I agree with some of the points Andy's made. At that, for me, it's with Rangnick that obviously his managerial stints hasn't gone well at all, has it? But basically, I do like his honesty when it comes to the general running of the club. I do wonder whether his comments are a sign of whether he's going to leave the club or whether the club believe him or going to do something about it. I personally think that I think his overall is echoing here. But basically, I think that his overall management of the players hasn't been great at times. I think that like to use the example, like I know he's not popular, but he's not popular with me, Jesse Lingard, at the moment. But I think his when he went into detail about why he missed the Chelsea game, it's like he was available, but then he told me he wasn't going to play for all this and that. For me, if you think of Sir Alex Ferguson, how he would have dealt with it, he would have probably just said, "Oh, he missed it due to personal reasons," just left it. And I just think that yes, it's good that he's open and honest, but sometimes can be guilty of speaking a little bit too much. And at the end of the day, when he's saying the players aren't putting in the effort, that kind of thing, it obviously appeals to us fans because he's saying what we're seeing. But you got to remember, when you're the manager, your job is to get results, and that kind of thing. And of course, we know the players have been at this season. They've let the club down, the team down, everyone down. But as a manager, you got to look at it and think, well, have you done things right? Are there ways you could have done things differently? And I just think the name of the game is try and get results. And when you get results, your confidence builds and that kind of thing. So for me, it's a case of, yes, most of the things he has said I do agree with. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, the results haven't improved, and obviously that's something you got to factor in. That yes, when he came in, it was still possible to get in the top four, that kind of thing. We've fallen way off, and basically, yes, most of it is on the players, and I don't think he's to blame entirely, and obviously clearly not. He deserves minimal blame for it, but nonetheless, it doesn't mean say he's got everything right. So for me, if we can have a role at the club going forward, hopefully we'll listen to him in terms of how we should improve ourselves. Obviously, he'll give information to Ten Hag how players have been, and then it'll be for Ten Hag to decide what players he keeps, who goes, and hopefully, people like Mercer will listen to Rangnick in terms of improvement. And I do think Rangnick has had some impact in terms of some of the changes they made, basically saying you haven't been run well at all, for a number of years, particularly since Fergie left. But I think a lot of these things, he's called it out. I think a lot of the background work has been done by Mercer. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of role he has. But yes, I do think, while he has been honest, I do think it hasn't been entirely successful as manager.
Want to come in there, Neil, mate?
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, Rangnick's been a disaster. And I think the problem I see when, I sort of, again, I don't know what Reese is going to say. I don't know what your opinion is, John, but I'm sort of slightly different. Well, I don't slightly differ to John. I might be completely opposite to John and Andrew in terms of the opinion, because I think Rio's got a point to a certain extent. Rangnick's problem is he hasn't done very well managing the club. And the other issue is he's only an interim manager. So everybody knows that. The players know that. The pundits know that. us five know it. You know, everybody knows it, and that sort of seems to take away a bit of the credibility about if he's going after the players, because as has been pointed out, I think John just said it. He as soon as the last game's over, he might be on the plane and he's off when he's already got another job. And what's he going to do? Was it like 6 hours a month or something, or 6 hours a week? I don't know what he's going to do. So Ten Hag might turn around and say, right, I want all of the decks cleared, because they got rid of a lot of people in the background. See, you know, recently, a hell of a lot of people. So there's a lot that we've read about and heard about. I imagine there's a lot, probably that's not the end of it. There's probably a few more that'll be out the door. And I can't believe that Ten Hag hasn't had an influence on, right, I want to bring my people in. And if by bringing his own people in, he brings his own, the scouting system, the full works, and really does what this club needs is a complete overhaul. I mean, we're not talking taking your car in for a service. We've been a write-off. This is a complete rebuild. This is a proper, genuine rebuild. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rangnick's gone. He hasn't done anything, in my opinion, to warrant him staying. I don't see how he can be an advisor in a part-time role. I don't see how he can be an advisor when he's managing a national team. I can't see how the two things can work together. Manchester United should not be having part-time advisors. For the love of God, we've got the money to, we spent plenty of money over the years. And how much did it cost us to get rid of Mourinho? Was it like 40 million? We blew on that dinosaur. So we've pissed money up the wall. So we shouldn't be having part-time sort of consultants and crap like this. We're not some IT company on a business park just outside Leicester, are we? This is Manchester United we're talking about, for God's sake. So I personally, I'd be happy to say, right, we tried, it's been a disaster. See ya. Yeah, that's not the answer to the original question, but sorry, that's how I felt.
I totally agree with Neil. We spoke about this. I'm not sure which show it was. I think we did a end of week show last Sunday with Ben, and this came up in conversation. I totally agree with Neil. I think I'll go into a few points with this, really, but I think initially, from what Neil said there, Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, whether you're a fan like us or not, you can't deny that. To still have with the shit that's gone on this year at United, to still have somebody who's part-time running involved with the club is just ridiculous. It's another one step forward, two steps back in my book. Just get rid of him. If he does not want to be here full time, whether it takes up 6 hours of his time a week, or whether it takes up a full 50 hours a week, it's irrelevant. The fact that he's not here at United, at Manchester, doing the job that he should be doing full time, and he's out doing another job somewhere else, is just, for the club that we are, the size of the club is a joke. Yeah, if he's doing a League One club somewhere, or starting up a new fresh club in Germany again, fair enough, go off and do that. But with all the crap that's gone on this year, the hype that surrounded it, the meme that's been Man United, for this guy to still be involved part-time, because let's be honest, it hasn't gone according to plan. If he'd have had a cracking season this season, got us top four, and he'd had a 60% win ratio, he'd have still been here. He wouldn't have taken the Austria job, would he? He wants out. And he doesn't want to be doing it. Just get rid of him. I mean, just to kind of touch on the failures of Rangnick. I mean, he's come out and he's spoke his mind. Great, he's exposed lots of the players and lots of the issues. But we talked about like Bruno and what went wrong with Bruno in terms of the first couple of seasons that we had Bruno, and this season, Rangnick came in. Bruno got on with Ollie for all his failings, for all his coaching and tactical failings, if we want to go into that. But Bruno got on with Ollie, and Rangnick came in, and I thought it was quite naive to come in halfway through a season, stir everything up, start a new formation and a new style of play midway through a season, when the aim was, there was still such a massive aim for the season. What are we going through 13, 14 games at that point? was still like 3/4 of the season left, such a massive part of the season, and he decided to play a Gengham press, hugely naive in games where we didn't require it, we didn't need it. Where sometimes you just play solidly. You try to play for a single goal, or you try and play a little tighter, and he just ripped the whole script up and decided to change it all through midway through a season, which was a struggle for lots of the players. A struggle for Ronaldo, a struggle for Bruno, a struggle for Rashford, a struggle for lots of players. His man management's been terrible. He's come out and called the players out in press conferences after games, but Rashford's had a poor season this season. Maguire's been dragged over the coals by the fans and the media and other people's fans. Where was his man manager of that? If Fergie was in position, he would have pulled Maguire out of that situation long before it got to a point of a joke, and he wouldn't have put him under the bus. And yet, it was been poor man management. Lingard, poor man management. He had a great loan season at West Ham, comes back into the United team. Okay, you can sort of blame Ollie a little bit initially as well, but where's his man management? Obviously, Martial's gone. Pogba's had issues throughout the season. Van der Beek ended up sending him on loan, despite the fact that he probably had a supposed link with Van der Beek. He allowed him to go out on loan when he could have blocked that. Shaw's been poor from a great World Cup. And he had issues with Ronaldo coming in. So, yeah, he's saving face, isn't he, by going into the media. And the players on the pitch can expose him, can't they? Expose Rangnick and make Rangnick feel 2 feet tall. But it's Rangnick's opportunity to go into the media press conferences and speak his mind and get one back on the players. And it was a bit of tit for tat. That's what it's been when he's exposed these players. But he's had a complete lack of ideas throughout the season. He's had no plan B. He's had terrible formations. He started using Mata too late in the season when he should have been using Mata early on in the season. Where was Mata? And then started using him in the last few games when he started making a difference. It's just been poor from back to front. And I think exposing the players now and then going off on a summer break and taking another job is just the icing on the cake in terms of Rangnick. I think, to be honest, it's just been a complete, well, I was going to swear, but it's going to be a complete disaster. So, yeah.
And Andy, I'll bring you back to you. Then obviously, you started this topic up. I just kind of you've heard obviously a lot of things here. I just kind of ask you a question then, like in the sense of where would you draw the line then? So, what kind of things would you kind of like to see him, be public, and where would you not see him public? I'm not one for calling players out individually if they've had a bad game as such. That's something I'm sure that do behind closed doors, but there are some things that he does need to defend himself. He does need to turn around and say, if I'm expecting this of a certain player and they're not delivering it, then he needs to cover his own back as well, doesn't he, to a point?
Yeah, he does. Well, I just think player-wise, I just think sometimes you can just, a bit like Mourinho, he sort of used to do that. Sometimes he called players out, whereas Rangnick sort of doing it a lot. And I think when we had Fergie, he'd sort of try and defend the players in public, but behind the scenes, he'd be like, if you needed to have a go at them, or say, well, you need to do this better. I mean, Rangnick's comments he's been making have certainly made United listen, and obviously you can see behind the scenes as well. Ahead of Ten Hag's arrival, things are changing, like upstairs, like many people starting to leave, and like say Murto and Richard Arnold are like, as I think I said last week's show, it's like clean sweep is happening at United, and as I said earlier, the open heart surgery United are needing is now starting to take place. And I just think, as I say, points made by Neil and Reece, like the interim manager bit, it's almost like, as I liken to it, Rangnick's been a bit of a supply teacher. Some of the players have listened, and some of the players are like, well, we know you're not going to be here come the end of the season. It's almost like we'll do what we want, and we'll wait for the next manager to come in. But I say, unfortunately, the results haven't been good enough under Rangnick, but he's been having his say no matter what. So, and obviously on the issue of him, this consultancy role, I don't think it was, from United's point of view, I don't think it was intended to be. I think it was more an advisory role. He's not going to be, we'll come to you for advice and you give your opinion. We'll see if we take it or not. It's not like that's, I think, 6 days a week. Is it 6 days? 6 days a month. So, but it'll be interesting what Ten Hag thinks of Rangnick, because obviously I don't think they've even had a meeting yet. So Ten Hag might just say, this isn't going to work. I want my own coaches and people around me that I'd like to work with. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works.
Thank you, Andy. Let's go on to a brighter note. John, let's bring you in on this one. You got some good news.
Yes.
Yeah, go on, John.
Yes, I wanted to focus on a positive aspect of this season, and that's our respective academy teams for both men and the women's team. As we know, the last 24 hours we won the Youth Cup, the record break, the 11th time. Obviously, tremendous attendance. Truly smashed the previous record in terms of attendance, and it was a fantastic game to be at last night. And but obviously, people like you, John, and Andrew, we follow the women's team as well, and the women's academy. They've won the Academy Cup this year. I was there for that when I was at St George's Park, and also they've won their league titles, and then they beat and their leagues obviously was Northern. And then they beat Chelsea on a head-to-head two-legged game. So they did the double this year, and overall it's been a positive season for the respective academy teams, and I just think it just shows that maybe behind the scenes over the last few years we have been starting to make improvements in that area. I was reading, I think it was Simon Stone, a few years ago, we were failing at youth level. We weren't even getting to finals of the Youth Cup. I believe that the lads that won the Youth Cup last night, Murto, apparently started to study them from around 5 or 6 years ago, and made sure that they were developed properly, and eventually it led to them winning the Youth Cup. Winning the Youth Cup last night. Now, obviously, watching both teams like I have this season, obviously there's talented players in all groups. Obviously, not all of them make it United. I think if 2 or 3 make it from each respective team, that would be a good sign. But I think it's also a sign, and when Connor and Benny and James did it this week when they got Tony on from, who's obviously an expert when it comes to the academy and that. I think we do produce a lot of players that tend to do well, not necessarily at United, but in other clubs in the Premier League or the Championship, that kind of thing. We have a very good record of producing players, and it was encouraging to see last night that I reckon virtually all of those players, not necessarily United, are capable of having some good football careers. Hopefully 2 or 3 make it into United's team. But I just think I think the secret to having a successful United side in many ways is having a strong youth team, and obviously we know that through the Busby Babes, the 60s and the Class 92 and that kind of thing. Whenever we've won the Youth Cup, we've tended to have success after it, so hopefully this occurs again with this youth team. It will obviously take time, and not saying everyone will make it and that kind of thing. There were certain players who got my eye last night, but I think it's encouraging that we have done a Youth Cup. It does show at youth level that we are doing something right, and hopefully we will continue to do so going forwards, and hopefully within a few years some of them will make it into the first team.
I'll bring Neil in shortly. We could talk about obviously the final yesterday and the men's team, but if I could just shout out the Women's Academy, what they've actually achieved this season is absolutely amazing. I just want to reiterate obviously what John said. The win their league with 50 points with 20 games, they've got a plus goal average of something like 60 plus, and that's that's a goal
68.
difference. 68, yes. So that's
68 plus 68 in 20 games.
Yeah, so you've scored at least 5 really. If you're going to concede 1, that's pretty much what they've achieved. And then obviously I was fortunate enough to be in Burton to watch the final as well against Birmingham, where they absolutely steamrolled over Birmingham, and obviously they just won Chelsea as well. So But on that, if people didn't know, Ollie's daughter used to play for our academy, but she's actually left this week permanently. So I think that was an interesting point. So Ollie's obviously stuck around in England just to kind of see the end of his daughter's season. But now they've moved back to Norway. So she's got a club in League Two in Norway, which is good. It's a step up, it's a senior move. So congratulations to her. But yeah, the women's team absolutely fantastic in their academy. Neil, just your thoughts on the men's team? What their academy's doing at the moment?
It sounds like Ten Hag's really clearing the decks of the old people that were there when he's even got rid of Ollie's daughter. That seems a bit harsh, doesn't it? Really, but never mind. It's a tough world we live in, folks. There's good news for you. You're off. Your old man's got the sack, and you're out the door as well. We sold you. Well, I actually watched it last night because it was on the FA app, wasn't it? Which is
on that note,
if
ever you want to watch a Man United women's team, the FA player's been there for 2 seasons, so now that everyone's signed up, start watching the women's team as well.
I'm as guilty as that, but it was amazing to see. I don't know. One of the things I took from last night, there was so much passion in the ground, and everybody seems so happy, and I can't remember that for ages. Being a United fan, it was just great. People seemed to be really enjoying it and going there watching a great team. I mean, I don't know enough about, and I will admit this. I get most of my information about the youth and the other teams at the club from John and yourself, John. But would you expect the core of that group? Maybe is it a core of 4 or 5 players that you would expect to come through? And I mean, would they get into a first team squad? Maybe 1 or 2. I know. I read this morning that we paid this kid who scored the penalty. It cost us 420 grand from Dortmund. So he must be a bit of a prospect.
Yeah,
if
that's
you're selling out that sort of money for a young lad, he must be a bit of a prospect. But it's the classic thing. It's a bit like racehorses. You sort of hope they train on. There's always a few that'll fall by the wayside. I mean, the youth game is littered with players that, we've all probably grown up, played football and thought, bloody hell, he's a great player. And then 3 years later, I'm not having a pop at these people, but it might be a milkman or a postman. And you think, well, hang on, you're one of the most talented players I've ever seen in my life. I just hope that as a group, I mean, it was great to see happiness on the pitch at United. And I've got to admit, it was fantastic. It was lovely to see, a youth team, and I was brought up on the youth. My dad sort of, and I know John's dad's done the same with him. We knew all about the babes probably before we were doing maths, but bringing homework home as junior school kids. So it's great to see that tradition. And yes, the first team's not doing very well, but the fabric of the club is still there. I hate the sort of term, but I'm going to use it anyway. The DNA of what United are built on. But it's great that, we might have had a terrible time, but we can still attract some of the best youth players in the game, and they still want to come and play for the shirt, and they want to play for Manchester United. So I think that's amazing that that we can do that. And it was great just to see the youth team do well, and I hope they train on and some of them, can make it into the first team.
Yeah, I'll carry that on from where Neil's left off there.
By the way, can I just say one thing? She's going to get really embarrassed, but I know my girlfriend's watching this in another room. So, hello, Shona. See you later. I'm going to get a text now, and I might be sleeping in the spare room. But it's worth it. That was worth it. So worth it. That was. Moving on. Anyway, sorry, Reese.
No, you're all right, mate. You're all right. No, I just echo what you've said, really, Neil. I mean, yeah, it's great. I think there's, we've got to cling to something out with this season. And I said that again a few shows ago. The youth team have been something to, and the women's team. I'm as guilty as as some other people that haven't watched the women this season, but obviously I'm aware of how well they've done through John and everyone else. But the under-18s were just brilliant. It wasn't a great game last night. I think both teams were a little poor on both sides. I thought, to be fair to Notts Forest, they were decent. But there was an area like old Man United about that youth team where you felt like the result was never really in doubt. I know there was a bit of a decision in favour, but then Garnacho kind of sealed it with his second. And yeah, that kid's got a chance. That kid's got a massive chance. I mean, Argentina, the benefit that Garnacho's got is he's not English. And he's not going to get this pressure leaped on him in straight away. Like, oh my God, he's going to be the next, whatever, Rooney, Messi, Ronaldo, whatever you want to brand him with. And he's obviously Argentina have taken him under his wing straight away. I know Spain were fighting for him as well. And he's been straight into their first team. I don't know if he's played for them, but I know he's been training with like Messi and all the superstars over there. So I suppose that's a good thing for him, and just shows how much they value him as well. So there's definitely something around this kid. I didn't have his greatest of games last night, I don't think, although he did score two. I think he showed up when he needed to, and that shows signs of I should text you. It was that handsome guy at the top right with his nice lighting. That's what she said to me. That's what.
No, Reese, I don't know you that well, but no, she didn't say that. I don't know. I don't know much about emojis, but that doesn't look like a good one for me.
Is it like a big pile of brown or whatever it is? Yeah.
No, I know that one means. I know what that one means. This one, she looks quite angry on this one, but never mind. I still love her.
No, good. I haven't got much else to say. They've been brilliant this season. It's great to do it since, was it 2009 last time, John? Was it the Pogba years, Ravel Morrison years?
It was 2011.
Was it? Yeah. It was that team though, wasn't it? I think, was it, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it was Pogba, Lingard, Ravel Morrison. I think Will Keane or Michael Keane was in it. So, I think interesting about that last team that won the Youth Cup. They have more international appearances than what the Class 9s do now.
Really? I don't know. I mean, I suppose stats are stats, aren't they? Dependent. It doesn't really paint a full picture.
No, it doesn't, but it is interesting, though. So.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of all I've got to say on it. They're brilliant. They deserve the applause for everything they've done this season and deserve the, getting the FA Cup trophy. So fair play to them. Well done.
Just to pick up on that, I feel like as fans, I think we've made a real statement to like Ten Hag who's coming in. I mean, he'll come in and see, well, United's not a completely lost cause. I mean, obviously we've got some good players in the first team, but also a thriving academy too. I mean, and I feel like us fans made a real statement last night to show how important that academy is. I mean, over 67,000 people there last night cheering on as well. I mean, desire to see any team win a trophy is good, but also the displeasure with the first team at the moment was probably a factor in why, people wanted to turn up and cheer on our youth players as well. And plus, the cost of a ticket was like next to nothing. So, families with kids could come in and then, see the future stars of United. So, yeah, I just think United's academy is it's the beating heart of the club. It goes back, way before even Busby and then through his years and then to Fergie. So, and it still carries on today. I mean, Lang, who's come through this season, joined the likes of Rashford, McTominay, and now we've got Garnacho. I feel like he was one of the standouts yesterday as well. And I just think Ten Hag coming in, I think he'll love what he's going to see as well. And I just think with our rich history of youth development, and I think United have even said that when they appointed him, that was one of the reasons as well. And obviously where he's been at Ajax as well, he's at Ajax have got a proven track record on the youth as well. So I think the stats somewhere I read that Ten Hag's handed 21 debuts to academy players during his 4.5 seasons at Ajax. So I think it'd be interesting to see under Ten Hag, whether he blood even more youngsters alongside those that are currently there. terms of our, women's team, so as well, because following the women's team as well. Yeah, nice to see some of those step up into the first team. But like I say, you don't, like with the men's youth players, you don't want to rush them too soon, and then they fall by the wayside. Let's say some of those are not going to make it into the first team. They're going to have to go elsewhere and build a career. So we're not going to just hang on to players just for the sake of it. We'll give them that good foundation to whether it's you're going to be with us or you have a career elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got time there for Neil's topic, and then we'll finish the show with Reese. What do you want to talk about, Neil?
Right, Jim Ratcliffe, a name that's been bandied about again about Man United. Now, yes, he's a Man United fan and all that baloney, and he meant to have $4 billion for Chelsea, but that was rubbish. It was nearly half of that was due to develop. Sorry, John. Anyway, see you later. So that was due. That was due to development of the new ground, etc., etc. Jim Ratcliffe needs to come with a warning sign, though. So yes, he's got a lot of money, and yes, he's invested it in sport. So he took over the Sky Cycling team. When he took them over, they were the most successful, regardless of whether you like the sport or not. They were the most successful road cycling team in the history of road cycling, right? So they were wiping the floor with everybody, and they were just way in front. He took over the team. What's happened? Gone backwards and ain't won jack since he's took over the team. And they're costing him about 50 million a year to run the team. Their best rider was involved in a horrific crash, might not ever ride again. So the Sky team went backwards. He then got involved with the America's Cup team and had a meeting with Ben Ainsley. And apparently Ben Ainsley had approached him about being a sponsor. Ben Ainsley had got other sponsors lined up. He'd got Jaguar, Land Rover, and there was big companies involved in sponsoring the British America's Cup team. Jim Ratcliffe said, I'll get involved, but I'm sponsoring the lot. So he gets involved, and we've got worse in terms of we got beat by Italy. We got whitewashed by Italy the last time round. I tell you what, if you've never watched it as a sport, it's a brilliant sport to watch because the way they film it now with all these small cameras on the boats, it's quite spectacular. I mean, you need a few quid to do the sport. So I'm not saying that. So he got involved in that, and that's gone backwards. Then he got involved with the Mercedes F1 team. I think if I'm right, he owns a percentage of the team. And he is ploughing in over 100, maybe 100, 150 million a year into the F1 team, Mercedes. And how well are they doing at the moment? They've gone backwards since he's become a full-time sponsor and a part-time owner of the team. And the only thing the Mercedes team have done this year is introduce us to the word porpoising when it comes to cars bouncing up and down the straight. So just be careful if we go with this Jim Ratcliffe thing. I think if he wanted to buy United, he would have put an offer in now. I'm not sure he would be the answer. I think United should be bought by a group of, and they'll be out there. There'll be a group of investors with a couple of Man United fans, huge billionaire fans that'll come in and buy the club. I don't see how someone like Ratcliffe, even though he's got deep pockets, I'm not sure that he's the sort of answer. I think the answer would be, Apex, good lad, he agrees with me. Apex, by the way, what your picture is that a Les Paul Gibson or is it from the custom shop? He'll know what I mean by that. It's a picture on his thing. It's that guitar. So I just think going with Jim Ratcliffe is going to be a really, really big mistake in many respects. And I think there's a lot of bluff and a lot of bluster going around because he was all this stuff with Chelsea. And I think that was just a publicity move on his behalf to try and keep himself in the paper. I think it was good move publicity wise. It was never going to happen because of the way his bid was. His bid was basically $2.5 million with 1.7 for development. So just be a bit aware of. I think the Ratcliffe thing. I think it's I think it's nothing at all.
Andy, do you want to come in on that one, mate?
Yeah, I'm just going to say, obviously Jim Ratcliffe gave that interview a couple of weeks ago. He's asked about, why you're not putting the bid in for us. And he said, I can understand that, but United are not for sale. And for some United fans, it was, frustrating to hear, but not surprising by that fact, because the Glazers have shown no sign whatsoever wanting to sell since, buying the club back in 2005. And of course, Radcliffe or another party could try and change the Glazers' mind and make an offer way above market value, which, they think is too good to refuse and decide to sell up. And you could make an argument Radcliffe, being a United fan, should bid for United, given, the vast amount of money involved. And that's easy to say from looking from the outside, but this is how typically business people operate. And I just think, well, whether Radcliffe is trying to play a long game with the United, because obviously trying to put him for a bid for Chelsea, is he trying to essentially smoke the Glazers out? So could he just be attempting to pile some pressure on them to sell? And I know obviously you got the various campaigns that United fans are trying to get the Glazers out, but I think I sort of agree with Neil's point. Yes, the Glazers are there at the moment, but it's almost like be careful what you wish for, because he's saying, like with Jim Ratcliffe and the sports he's been involved as well, it's not been going great. So it's like, yeah, is he the right owner for us? Is there somebody else out there that could be better? I know from years ago there was that Red Knights consortium, and I think a few of them are still around, but would they, still be interested in buying United? It's one of those. I think at the moment, with the Glazers being in charge, I know they're starting to have more dialogue with the fans. So I think it's a bit of a two-way street at the moment. We still have the protest, but we've got to engage with the Glazers as well, or potentially if ever a new owner comes in as well.
Go on, Reece, mate.
Yeah, I'll just. I don't have an abundance of knowledge on this subject, and I think people with vast amounts of money are always pretty much the same sort of animal, aren't they? Are we going to get a vastly sort of different owner if he's necessarily a Man United fan? I mean, the fact that he's possibly in for Chelsea as well and has been in other sports suggests that he's just got too much money for sense. But I'm not entirely sure. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a massive fan of the Glazers, because I would have a 50% of the fan base on my back and another 50 sort of maybe a little bit undecided. But I think some of the protests this year have been quite heavy, haven't they? Quite intense in comparison to other years that we've had protests, and we've always had like simmering protests in the fan base and in the ground and outside the ground. But this year in particular, it's been quite intense, and you sort of ask yourself why. Well, obviously it's been down to performances this season, hasn't it? It's been quite intense. So you wonder, would the level of protest have been as intense if the performances had been a bit better, or the results had been better this season? It probably goes hand in hand. It's probably quite an obvious answer to that question. So my point really is that it is kind of be careful what you wish for. I think that was kind of the nature of the topic, really, that Neil was trying to get across, that just because you get somebody in who might have a slightly different viewpoint on how he wants to run United might not necessarily take us in the direction that us as fans want us to go, and that's kind of the fear, really. I think, regardless of the overall ownership, we are making some inroads and changing the management, aren't we? We're bringing in Erik ten Hag, hopefully bringing a backroom staff that are going to support him and support the movement there. And in previous managers, in the last 3 or 4 managers we've had, in Van Gaal and Mourinho and Moyes, we didn't have that structure, didn't have that voice. Ollie the same, didn't have that kind of protection and that voice that he could, that strength behind him to allow him to put in the things that he wanted to implement to make the team stronger in the image that they wanted it to be strong in. Ten Hag is hopefully going to make sure that he's got those things in place so that he can do that. So, yeah, I'm not sold on ownership. As a fan, I mean, I tried to concentrate on the football and on the first team and the youth team and everything, and the football elements of the club. And I know there's things that go behind that, and try not to bog myself down with other elements of that. And I think the guys are right. You just got to kind of be careful what you wish for, I think, with some of these men with billions of pounds. So, yeah.
I'll let John finish up. I mean, is it a case of be careful what you wish for, or is it something like Tyrone says, anyone is, no one can be worse than the Glazers?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a case of be careful what you wish for. Obviously, I brought the topic last week, just as a general feeling what people felt about it. I just think that obviously you're talking about vast sums of money. It's going to take. I think our current value is a bit above £4 billion on stock exchange, but the Glazers will more than that. It will be at least 5 billion, I reckon, possibly even 6 billion. Then you're talking about another 3 to 4 billion on top of that. And I made the point last week about I think the main body you need is really Manchester United Supporters Trust to potentially look at potential buyers who might put in a decent offer to the Glazers. I am a believer in I made the point last week. The businesses, they're always for sale for the right price. You might be talking extortionate amounts, but it depends how much it's worth. Someone will be willing to pay something for it, for an asset. Now, it basically depends on who does have that level of money. And basically, it's not just about having the right money, it's about how much you're willing to invest in building up the club after you've paid the Glazers to leave. And then also granting, will you allow fans to have a degree of ownership or allow them to be involved in decision making, that kind of thing. I just don't think until those issues are resolved, and I think possibly Moss are the best people to do that, then I think if they can say, right, we found a potential appropriate buyer who is willing to do this kind of thing, then only then can us fans get behind something and put more pressure on the Glazers. That's the only way it's going to happen. As for Jim Ratcliffe, I don't, but does he have the money? I know he has billions of pounds and that kind of thing, but does he have the offer? And, obviously some people questioned him in, his ownership in things in other sports. So I'm not sure be the right person, but then again, we don't know who is. So I think it's about, again, someone who's potentially going to, improve the club going forwards, buying out the Glazers and, getting an offer which would appease the fans and that kind of thing.
We'll end it on a bit more of a lighter note. Reece just wants to put something on screen. Going to cast my memories back. So yeah, go on, Reece, set it up, mate. Hopefully people in the comments can get involved in this as well. Oh, you're on mute, mate.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was on mute. Yeah. So yeah. This is, I've tried to go back a little bit further for Neil, but I'll have to just start in 1979, Neil, if that's okay.
Cheeky bastard.
No, the reason I've started in 1979 really is because Stu was quite adamant that the home kit in 1979 was, I might have been 1972. I apologize if I've got that wrong, but that was Neil's favourite kit. So I apologize if graphics wasn't the best. It was his favourite kit. He told us it was the Nova kit better than that home kit last week, so that was the reason. But
Neil, not this
Stu,
Neil.
No, sorry, not
Stuart.
Yeah, Neil. Yeah, sorry.
Not you said Neil.
Yeah,
my favourite was 99.
Just out of curiosity, Neil, what was your favourite ever home shirt?
99 long sleeved.
The Champions League one.
No, the 99 long sleeve with the Umbro logo. I've still got that with the Umbro logo all the way down the arm.
And the zip.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the best shirt. Proper shirt that was.
remind me of Yap Stam, that shirt.
Oh, well, you know, we've
just-
all got our
did the-
issues.
I name a few
Yeah.
players in that shirt. Treble season.
I mean, there's a few that I mean, the graphic's not the greatest, really, is it? But I'll scroll down to the ones that you probably recognise. Just shout up if you see one that you reminds you and you really like. I mean, the first one that springs to mind is
the away Admiral one with the 3 stripes. Go up a bit.
these ones.
Keep going. Yeah, these Admiral ones. That was a great shirt.
That is a lovely shirt, actually.
That reminds me of Gordon Hill.
It's a lovely shirt. That I like the blue.
Yeah,
to be fair, I like this blue one here as well. Never seen that one. Feel like that's quite a nice.
Yeah, we didn't wear that one a great deal.
Yeah, it's the third kit, wasn't it? But I mean, this reminds me of Gig.
There you go.
One.
There we go.
All the bottom right view cam.
This is where I started to come in.
Cantona. Is that a Cantona memory?
That was a belter. Lee Sharp.
Lee Sharp,
Villa Park. Lee Sharp, Villa Park. We need with the blue socks. That shirt with the blue socks though. That was a hell of a shirt. Hell of a kit. I know.
one.
Yeah, but they wore that kit with blue socks. They wore it away at Southampton. I think they wore it at Villa Park that year.
They did.
They'd wear that top with the blue socks, and that was epic.
My earliest memory there, my earliest memory of United was 92-94. It was against Wimbledon. I think it was a cup game and we won, and I was wearing that green and gold shirt there.
Yeah, Cantona scored an absolute screamer, didn't he?
Is that the one where Vinnie Jones like two foot him and
and he just laughed at him, didn't
he just gets up,
kicking the shit out of him.
Also, the same ground against Crystal Palace. It was 2-0, a huge goal which all but sealed off first league title, wasn't it, in the Premier League?
Yeah.
That's
I love the blue one from that season as well. That's an epic shirt as well.
Yeah, no, for me it was that black kit was because that black kit wasn't too long after Juventus. I think we're the first major team to wear a black kit. Juventus used to have their Kappa kit and it was all black and God, it looked fantastic. That was a hell of a kit that Juve.
So, Neil, I wanted to ask you because I was speaking to my dad about this because obviously referees always wore black and I think that was the first of its time we had a black kit because I think referees were changing their colours because I don't think any team wore black before then. Is that accurate?
No, I think what had happened, the teams wanted to wear more black. Yeah. So because the referees wore black, it was decided that the referees would then wear colours because the teams had kept submitting black kits. And then Juve bought out a black kit and then suddenly the floodgates are open. And then not long after the Juve kit, we brought this one out. But I think the Juve was the first full black kit. But that ViewCam kit, that was a great side. That was a great side. Brilliant side that was.
And that and Lee Sharp springs to mind, Neil, on that one.
Yeah, Lee Sharp at Villa Park, first away game of the season on a Monday night, and he did his Elvis thing at the corner flag. Yeah, that was brilliant. Got the balls run off me by the Villa fans that night.
That wasn't the celebration he got told off for, though, was it? Because did he not do the sniff celebration?
Yeah, there was quite a few he did that were a bit lively.
I'll tell you another good one. If you scroll down, we said the white one, 98-99. Giggs, Villa Park, and York and Cole.
Yeah,
that was a fantastic shirt.
I actually like the third. I like the third one along.
This one here,
the blue one there.
Yeah, I like that one.
That was
a great shirt.
The first ever United shirt I bought. So.
I remember
that was the one where
did the sponsor flop
the Scholes goal at Bradford.
Yeah,
when Beckham pinged the corner and he volleyed it in. That was the kit.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Keane at Arsenal, 2 goals, and also Carragher 2 goals at Anfield. So.
Yeah, we mugged them off the Arsenal in that kit.
Did something happen with the sponsor the mid-season with that kit though? Because didn't they? Didn't Sky Digital end up flop or something? Or was it Sharp Digital? Did it flop or something?
No, it was just they were bringing because that time of the year, then I mean the ViewCam one was a camcorder, So Sharp had been a long-time sponsor, and then the View Cam, they just wanted to put that on one shirt, and they wanted to put something else on another shirt, and they were launching their digital range or something, and it was just a buzzword, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah. This was the controversial one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't see that one. I can't see that one. It's just a blank screen.
It's faded in the background there.
Yeah, I can't see that one. Now there's the dreadful ones are coming up.
Yeah, these are awful. I really don't like these.
One.
Well, this was a reversible one, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the gold one's terrible.
I had this one. Yeah, it was bloody awful. It was like a bed sheet.
Awful kit.
Yeah.
Deary me. It looked like bloody road.
I don't know the
I quite like the white one at 0203. The fall on at Anfield. I did like that one.
Yeah, that was a good. That's a better.
The blue one as well. It reminded me of Van Nistelrooy at Arsenal.
This one here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's brilliant kit, wasn't it?
The blue one, yeah. No.
Oh, the blue one.
The blue one on the next row down.
Yeah.
This one here.
So I'm pointing at the screen like you can see, mate. I'm going that one then, and John's going, yeah. I'm thinking, how's he know? I've pointed at that one. No, that was the blue one that Van Nistelrooy. I had that one with funny enough, I had that one with Solskjaer on the back. When you had to pay for the names, and it was how much you had to pay per letter.
So, yeah.
And I had Solskjaer like an idiot.
I have Van Nistelrooy on that one, the blue one.
Bloody hell, that must have cost you more money.
I can't remember. Well, it was a kid's shirt.
I don't remember this third kit ever being used that much. That white one.
I remember that vaguely.
Yeah.
Vaguely remember.
You mean the white stripe one?
This stripy one here, the 2003.
Yeah, that was the 0304 season. That was. I remember Giggs came to at Anfield in that shirt. So.
That's right. Yeah. Now the home one's a good one. That was. If you bought the match ready one, it got two. It was like it was double layered. Because if you remember when Forlan scored his first goal, when he pulled his shirt off, he couldn't get it back on properly. Took him about 15 minutes to get his shirt on. The game started, and he was still trying to get his bloody shirt on. But that was a good shirt. Yeah,
it's a nice shirt. I'm not sure why it's on this list. I mean, it's just maybe a slight difference with it being an FA Cup final shirt in particular, but it's just this is an away list, so I'm not sure why it's on there. But it is a nice shirt. Yeah, I do remember. Sort of reminds me of Ronaldo's year as well when he sort of broke onto the team and stuff as well.
I remember Van Nistelrooy in 0203. Unbelievable. Yeah. I like a couple of the ones like that's O'Shea at Anfield, that white one.
Yeah.
And the black one underneath. I quite like that one as well.
Yeah,
they're quite nice. I mean, I think we'll get into the one I like the most, and it's probably quite a controversial one, really. The fact that it's all blue, but it's that all blue one, and it's
the blue ones. Well, we're synonymous with blue. We won the European Cup in blue, didn't we?
Well, that was the 40th anniversary special, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the special. That was brought out because of that. Yeah, you're right, John.
And that's that Champions League game against Arsenal, isn't it? It just reminds me of that.
Yeah.
That night.
He's not going to shoot from there. Oh, bloody hell, he did. I was at that game.
Were you really?
What night that was? Yeah, I was at that game at the Emirates.
Yeah, unbelievable. But yeah, some nice kits on there.
It's not bad. Not that many in recent years.
These ones are. As soon as they moved away from Sharp,
the white one in 14-15, I didn't think was too bad.
As soon as they moved away from the Vodafone one, I don't think there's been a decent shirt.
Yeah, they tried to be a bit too adventurous with some of them, haven't they? I mean, that white one should really be a nice one.
Pink, give me a break.
Yeah, no, that was ridiculous. Although it does remind me of PSG, that shirt. You know, the comeback game.
Yeah,
I didn't mind this black one, to be fair. That was quite a nice one in 17-18.
I think what John said though, that they just gone downhill. Hey, you've got the
There you
gold
go.
in your basket, haven't you?
There you go. Yeah.
You've got that in your basket, my friend.
Oh, I've already. I already had it.
You'll be wearing that in the clubs.
Oh, God, don't go near a naked flame with that, Neil. You'll be up in flames in no time with that one on.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say the grey one was the worst one, though. Really.
I can't remember seeing. I still can't see it. I'm not on my screen.
If you can't see, it's definitely the worst one.
Yeah.
Right, guys.
Well, that's a good subject, Reese. I've had a text from Shona. She liked that subject. She liked that. She said, "I'm enjoying this part of the show." Says a lot about what I've said.
I've done
says a lot
something
about
right.
me, doesn't it?
Join
And
us.
that's why I've got this microphone, see, Neil. It does pay its way eventually.
Join us next week
Yeah,
because Stu's going to get his socks out. So we're going to go through his favourite socks.
Yeah.
Stu watches back.
I tell you what, I know you shouldn't wish your life away, but I'm counting the moments for that.
We had his football boots. We had his football boots 2 weeks ago. Footballs last week.
I've still got all of mine with my battered body. I've still got me Mundials and I've still got me World Cups.
Yeah, brilliant boots. Yeah,
I think they've got
favorite socks, John. What? Jeez, that's I'm
favorite socks.
I'm gonna be struggling.
I'll tell you what, we're going down a wormhole there, mate.
Yeah,
I'm not sure my heart will be able to handle. I'm not sure my heart will be able to handle that show. I might have to bow out.
I think the best thing is
give me warning.
When we start seeing these pictures, it just brings back memories, doesn't it? More than anything. So you look at a nice shirt, but more than anything, you think of the memory.
How much money we've spent on shirts?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
We have been going a little bit longer than usual, so we are going to drift off. But thanks to everybody in the comments. There's been quite a few of you tonight chipping in. So
yeah,
thank you very much. Hope everybody on screen has a good good weekend as well. And
yeah, we'll say bye to Shona, please. Can we all say bye to Shona?
Let's all give Shona.
No, all of us. Bye, Shona.
Bye, Shona.
Bye, Shona.
Shona.
See you later.
Bye, Shona.
I'll be